This world has long since become a graveyard, scorched by human greed and endless war. He was created as the ultimate weapon, a ruthless monster capable of single-handedly pulverizing entire machine armies. Now the legendary captain is a traitor. He abandoned everything to protect the only one who taught him how to feel. With only a few fuses left and 10 days of hell ahead, he's fighting the entire world, and the very comrades he once led. Can this monster protect the last spark of hope, or will his own power consume him from within? Let's find out. In a desolate wasteland under a stormy sky, a lone figure trudges through the endless rubble. The carrier's face is etched with exhaustion, but his passenger, a young woman, seems at peace. She looks up, marveling at the beauty of the stars, finding wonder in a sight she sees every night. He counters with cold logic, calling them burning gas, but she insists that their beauty is enough. Her simple wisdom seems to reach him for a moment, before he snaps back to reality, questioning their path. She activates her interface, ready to check their coordinates. It's been over 20 days since the mother satellite fell. She begins to calculate its crash trajectory, pinpointing its location hundreds of kilometers to the northwest. But she warns him the area was once a conflict zone, a place where something dangerous might be waiting. He accepts the risk, pulling up his visor to scan the horizon. And just like that, he finds their objective. His eyes lock onto their target, the mother satellite. The key to restoring everything he has lost. He listens as she describes a strange feeling, explaining she was once part of Mother. But now she wants to meet the real thing. She feels a warmth in the fallen satellite, and he seems to understand her longing. With his decision made, he tells her it's time to go. She asks if this means they'll part ways soon, then playfully suggests he could just carry her forever. For the first time, a genuine smile breaks his stoic facade. He admits she's always been this way. She observes that he's changed a lot since they first met. He seems genuinely confused, asking if he's even smiling now. Her expression turns serious, her mind on the past. She asks why he agreed to her request the day the Civil War started. His memory drifts back to that moment, back when Mother was a beacon of hope, meant to lead humanity to a brighter future. But human greed led to a war for control, because of course it did. And in the middle of all that destruction, she had asked him for one thing, a desperate plea to take her to see Mother. He remembers his own shock at her words. He remembers her words from that day, how she told him that their time together was the only thing that mattered. But their reminiscing is cut short by a sudden alert. She's detected 13 dormant machines waking up. He seems unfazed, knowing they have no other choice. He adjusts his collar, readying himself for a fight. Promising to be right back, he steps down from the rig. A strange blue energy crackles around his fist. It solidifies into a deadly weapon around his arm. With his weapon formed, Raid prepares for battle. He admits he didn't want to use this power, knowing it would alert any trackers in the area. She watches with worry, begging him not to overdo it, but he just offers a faint, reassuring smile. Then he leaps from the cliff without a second thought. He knows this isn't a rational decision, but he has no regrets. Below, the ancient war machines begin to awaken. Their defense systems flare to life, detecting his approach, and a dozen cannons rise to meet the lone intruder. The cannons lock into place, all aimed directly at him. Guess they're not big on introductions. He notes how fast the old war scrap reacts. Without hesitation, they open fire. A barrage of energy blasts soars through the air towards him, but Raid is ready for them. His weapon extends into a massive energy blade. With a determined grit, he swings it down to meet the attack. With a single, powerful arc, he brings the blade crashing down. But the machines are relentless, unleashing another volley of concentrated fire. Raid weaves through the storm of energy, closing the distance to meet them head-on. He ducks under a crushing blow, his focus never wavering for an instant, and counters with a devastating uppercut of his own, releasing a torrent of energy that rips through their ranks. But his focus is broken by a sudden tremor. As the ground begins to split apart, something massive rises from the earth, an ancient war machine dormant for decades. A CTR-07 Imperial Army weapon awakens. Raid can't believe it, recognizing the legendary mech. She confirms his fears, explaining it's a high-intelligence unit that exploits weaknesses. But Raid charges forward anyway, his blade shifting into a spear. He weaves through the remaining cannons, narrowly avoiding their coordinated blast. The colossal machine isn't alone, as its smaller brethren stir to life. He launches himself skyward, his message clear: stay out of his way. With a look of pure resolve, he activates the next level of his power. A torrent of blue energy erupts from his weapon. He He crashes down among the smaller units intent on putting them to sleep. But they're not going down without a fight. Unleashing a coordinated barrage of their own, Raid becomes a whirlwind of blue energy, deflecting every single blast. And just like that, the welcoming party is over. The remaining machines swarm him from all sides. But Raid is already in motion, ducking under a heavy swing. He slides low to the ground and cuts through the machine with a single fluid arc. Another one falls, but the fight is far from over. He drives his fist straight through the next unit's chassis. His expression is cold, his focus absolute. He unleashes a torrent of energy to clear some space. Leaping onto the back of another mech, he becomes a whirlwind of blue light and shattered steel. He glances back, his focus unbroken, then unleashes a devastating spiral of energy, carving a path through the remaining machines. But the colossal machine has found a new target. She's helpless, unable to access the data she needs. The CTR-07 brings its massive blade down upon her. She can only watch, believing this is the end. With her last breath, she screams out Raid's name, but in a flash, she's shoved out of harm's way. As Raid's blade meets the mech's head-on, the force of their clash shatters the mech's colossal weapon. Raid's fury ignites, his voice a low growl. He roars, questioning who dared to even think about touching her, and unleashes a final devastating storm of blue energy. A flash of memory, a younger him in another desperate battle. Back in the present, the battlefield is silent as he returns to her. She offers a small smile, asking if he made it in time. He simply looks back, the last of his power fading from his arm. But his relief is cut short by a sharp impact on his shoulder. A small device, his signal jammer, falls to the ground, broken. He realizes the jammer was on its last legs anyway. She remarks that their journey almost ended right there. But Raid refuses to accept that possibility, vowing that he will get her to her destination, no matter what. She accepts his promise with a warm, trusting smile. A moment of quiet resolve passes between them in the wasteland. The scene shifts to a memory of a world engulfed in flames. A second world war, where humanity's cruelty brought ruin. He remembers being a product of that destructive era, created to fight the very war machines that defined the age. But he remembers there was a key difference between them and the enemy. His side consisted of humans, implanted with a powerful bioweapon called Gaia. They fought against the Delta mechanical weapons. A younger Raid stands his ground against the onslaught, but he came to realize they weren't so different after all. Both were just tools, created for destruction. The machines unleashed a constant barrage of attacks, but Raid met their force with his own raw power. A clash of manufactured might against biological fury. He remembers the relentless efficiency of the machines. How their AI could read his every move before he even made it. Each action was perfectly calculated, a flawless response to his own. He was constantly on the defensive against an enemy that never made a mistake. The AI's analytical power was designed to overwhelm human fighters, but he knew they had one critical flaw. They couldn't match the human brain. An organic processor capable of countless simultaneous functions, and the Gaia bioweapon allowed its user to harness that power, to think outside the box of pure logic, to fight with imagination and instinct against cold, hard calculation, to make judgments in areas where logic couldn't reach. He and his comrades tore through the enemy lines, their eyes burning with a fire the machines couldn't comprehend. It was a chaotic dance of human will against cold steel, and the machines simply couldn't keep up. That was the fundamental difference between them and the AI, and that very difference is what won them the war. But victory brought a new, unforeseen problem. Post-war HR. For so-called humanitarian reasons, the heroes became a lingering danger to the world they had just saved, without a place in the world they'd saved. They were nearly cast aside as relics of a forgotten war, but they were given a new role as protectors of the city. His new job was basically a glorified delivery boy. The memory fades, returning him to her words in the present. She wishes the world could find the same understanding they share. Raid listens in silence, her idealism a stark contrast to his past. She then shares some good news with a hopeful smile, announcing her systems are restored and her energy is stable. Her eyes glow with renewed purpose, a compass pointing the way forward. But their quiet moment is shattered by a sudden warning. She's detected a group of 10 people approaching from the south. Their leader, a woman with a confident gaze, insists her tracking is flawless. Another member of her squad confirms it, using his own Gaia to pinpoint their target. A faint signal cuts through the desolate landscape, locking onto Raid's position just 4 kilometers away. The leader warns her team not to get cocky just because he's alone. She explains that while he's now a traitor to the government, he was once known as a true monster of war. And with that grim reminder, she prepares to hunt him down. The leader rallies her squad, ordering them to give it their all. Meanwhile, Raid's expression hardens as he senses the approaching danger. She confirms they're closing in, now just 3 kilometers away. He wonders how they were found, since Mother's jamming should be active. She realizes the truth. They're tracking his Gaia signal directly. He considers the possibility of new agents with advanced tracking capabilities. He takes stock of his limited resources, counting only 7 fuses left. With 10 days of travel still ahead, he knows his power is finite. Running is futile. A confrontation is inevitable. Suddenly, he feels a gentle tug on his cloak. She tells him he doesn't have to carry this burden alone. She says it's okay if they don't even reach the satellite. Her only real concern is seeing him get hurt. She explains that more than any goal or wish, this journey with him is her greatest reason to live. But he just smiles, reminding her of his promise to see her happy. He asks her to put her trust in him. He tells her to stay hidden while he handles the pursuers. She can only watch, her voice filled with concern, and he activates one of his last remaining fuses. The first pursuer leaps down, their weapon a blur of motion. She can only whisper a prayer for his safe return. The enemy soars through the air, closing the distance instantly. Another set of eyes watches from the shadows, cold and calculating. Suddenly, the sky erupts with a volley of energy blasts. A new Gaia user enters the fray, his face a mask of fury. He unleashes a wave of energy to counter the incoming fire. Raid is forced to weave through the chaotic crossfire. He grits his teeth, realizing this is more than he bargained for. The leader of the squad taunts him for his momentary distraction. She swings a massive pink scythe with deadly intent. Her weapon clashes against Raid's blue energy blade. The leader's eyes burn with a familiar intensity. She addresses him as Captain, confirming they know each other. The impact of their weapons sends a shockwave through the air. Raid slides back, bracing himself against the powerful blow. He seems more annoyed than surprised by this little reunion. Another squad member, a hulking brute, joins the fray with a crushing punch. Meanwhile, a sniper takes aim, confirming the target is in sight. And their shot finds its mark in the other Gaia user who just joined the fight. The sniper unleashes a powerful shot from their perch. A golden streak of energy hurtles towards Raid, but he effortlessly bats it aside with his blade. Seeing an opening, the hulking brute makes his move. He activates his second level, recognizing the legend before him, but he quickly dismisses Raid's current appearance as weak. Convinced this is his chance to earn some glory, he launches himself forward like a human missile. Raid simply watches him come, completely unfazed. The leader screams a warning, telling him not to be so reckless, but Raid simply pivots to meet the brute's charge. Effortlessly catching the blow meant to end him, his eyes are cold, completely unimpressed. He sends the overeager attacker flying with a single motion. The leader watches on, remarking that his skills are still sharp. She addresses him by his old title with a knowing smirk. He finally looks up, admitting it's been a long time. She questions his betrayal, asking why he'd throw it all away. He turns the question back on her, asking what purpose she has now. His words seem to strike a nerve, leaving her completely stunned. He asks if she's just a puppet following orders, living a life without any real passion or purpose. But she just throws his words back at him, calling it all nonsense. She reminds him that he was once the strongest warrior she knew, and her respect turns to rage as she demands to know why he betrayed them. Raid stands alone, explaining he chose to live for himself. A life defined by his own choices where nothing else matters. He declares there's no more time for talk. And with a wild look in his eyes, he invites them all to attack at once. The entire squad seems taken aback by his sheer audacity. The leader calls him arrogant, vowing to end him right here. But Raid's mind is elsewhere, admitting his past was just following orders. He was a tool, carrying out the will of others without question. He wonders if this fight is some kind of punishment for his past. His memory drifts back to a different time, with a younger, happier squad. Back when he stood as their captain overlooking the city. A younger Raid, with a different look but the same weary eyes. He was their leader, the one they all followed into battle. A man they all looked up to, a legend in his own right. And she, his second in command, always watched him with fierce loyalty. This was Lydia, back when she was just a corporal. A teammate playfully calls her out on her obvious admiration. She insists it's a respect he wouldn't understand. She'd heard stories of Raid's heroism since she was a trainee, and now she was finally serving on his team. Her fellow sergeant, Canchone, seems unimpressed. He openly doubts their captain can live up to the legend, a comment that earns him a sharp glare from Lydia. Their bickering is cut short by another sergeant, Paul, calling them to attention. And their captain, a younger Raid, looks on with that same familiar intensity. With a single command, he orders his new squad to move out. Lydia can barely contain her excitement, finally getting her chance. She follows behind, proud to be a part of the legendary Raids team. But the reality of their first mission was far crueler than she imagined. The enemy soldiers surrender, begging for their lives. But Raid's weapon, a blade of crimson energy, shows no sign of mercy. His eyes burn with cold fury as he tells them they've crossed a line. And in a flash of red, he cuts them down without a second thought. Lydia can only watch from a distance, stunned by the brutal display. The hero she admired was a monster, and her idealism shatters in an instant. She watches in horror as her squad mates unleash their full fury. There's no honor here, only brutal efficiency. The battlefield is littered with the fallen, and the city burns around them. She's forced to confront the true ugly face of war. Thrown into the fray, she struggles to hold her own. But a moment's hesitation is all it takes to find herself cornered, until Raid appears in a flash of crimson, saving her from the blow. He orders the rookie to stay by his side, and she can only stare, completely overwhelmed by the chaos. He carves a path through the enemy lines, a whirlwind of crimson in a sea of steel. Canchone follows his captain's lead, his own blade a blur. Raid barks an order, telling Paul to move forward. The hulking sergeant charges into the fray, ready to follow his captain's command without question. But Canchone spots a new threat, screaming a warning. Artillery fire rains down from the sky. Paul becomes a living shield, protecting his captain and the rookie. The squad scrambles for cover amidst the chaos. The world erupts in a blinding flash of light. As Paul takes the full force of the blast, he grits his teeth, his barrier holding for now. Raid turns to Lydia, telling the rookie to cover him. He then barks an order for Canchone to return fire. The sergeant takes aim with his heavy cannon and unleashes a volley of his own. Paul retaliates with a wave of blue energy, a powerful counterattack of his own, and one of the enemy mechs is torn apart. But another machine rises from the smoke. Raid moves to intercept it, his crimson blade a blur. His eyes are locked on the target, his focus absolute. He and Lydia fight back-to-back against the swarm. They leap clear of a devastating ground slam, using the enemy's own wreckage as a stepping stone, but Lydia spots another threat taking aim. She screams a warning as they scramble for cover. Her face is a mask of grim determination, and she unleashes her own power, a whirlwind of pink energy. She remembers how he didn't even look back, how he simply trusted her, a rookie, to hold her own. The memory blurs into a chaotic storm of crimson energy. Raid stands amidst the wreckage, a silent, destructive force. Lydia can only watch, the harsh reality of war crashing down on her. He looks over the fallen, his expression cold and unfeeling. He stands over a defeated soldier offering no quarter, and with a single brutal motion, he ends the man's life. He explains to her that in war there is no room for mercy. Their only job is to complete the mission, and that is all. She remembers the warrior, the man she once admired so deeply. They spent a long time as comrades fighting through countless battles, and she learned so much from him along the way, not just combat, but the skills to survive, which only made her respect him more. She began to dream of a future, of becoming a great warrior who could stand beside him as an equal. It was a goal that gave her purpose. But then the war ended, and their unit was disbanded, and Raid simply walked away, accepting his new orders without a word. He'd offer a rare word of praise, and she'd hold on to it. As he walked away, she realized her feelings for him were more than just respect for her captain. But with the others gone, she was given a new, impossible mission. The hero she admired had disobeyed orders and fled with a state asset. Her new objective: hunt down the man she idolized and end him. The news shattered her world, leaving her with only one question: why? Her dream of standing beside him was replaced by an order to kill him. The memory fades, returning them to the present battlefield, and her admiration has twisted into a burning rage. She screams that she will execute him, her pink scythe crashing against his blue blade. But Raid holds her back with a single hand, effortlessly stopping her furious assault. She puts all her strength into the blow, but he remains completely unfazed. She tells him that while he was wasting away, she was honing her skills on the battlefield. Her eyes burn with a desperate need to prove herself, and she unleashes another powerful swing. But Raid's expression remains utterly bored by her efforts. Their weapons collide in a maelstrom of energy. With a determined grit, he pushes back against her and casually bats her scythe away. He slides back from the force of the blow, but he stands firm, his blade still humming with power. He looks past Lydia, his eyes scanning the battlefield. He calls out to Canchone, the sniper perched above, then to Paul, the brute, and a hooded woman named Lena. The woman seems confused, questioning if he's talking to her. Raid remarks that she's put the old team back together. He taunts her, asking if she's clinging to ghosts of the past. His words only seem to fuel her rage. She screams at him to stop talking nonsense, and unleashes another furious swing of her scythe. Raid notes her attack now has impressive range. Her Gaia has been enhanced, but only in raw power. Just then, Kanchoni opens fire from above, but Raid easily deflects the shots, realizing they lack Gaia energy. He smirks, knowing their tech hasn't quite caught up to him yet. He decides he'll just have to face any other dangers head-on. Just then, Lena leaps from the shadows, her golden blade ready, but her senses tell her there's no hostile intent from her target. She swings her weapon with everything she has, only for it to pass right through him like a phantom. She can only stare in disbelief, completely stunned. Her attack had absolutely no impact. So much for a dramatic entrance. Raid moves like a blur, leaving only afterimages in his wake. Before she can even process what happened, he's behind her, grabbing her by the hood with a critical observation. He points out her weakness in close-quarters combat and demonstrates with a swift punch to her gut. Lydia screams in fury, rushing to her teammate's aid. She swings her massive scythe in a wide arc, but Raid is already behind her, grabbing her shoulder. He effortlessly throws her off balance, which is just rude, just in time to form a shield with his blade. Blocking a sniper shot he can't even trace. A hail of energy blasts rains down on his position. It's Kanchoni, using a level 2 stealth ability. Kanchoni unleashes a massive barrage from his hidden position, but Raid is already moving, a blur against the night sky. His eyes are sharp, calculating his next move. He faces the wall of energy without a hint of fear, and with a single swing of his blade, he parts the entire attack like a curtain. Raid decides he's had enough of playing defense. He knows there's something more important than just technology, and that's overwhelming raw power. He activates his third level, unleashing his full strength. A shockwave of pure blue energy erupts from his body. He moves in a blur, instantly appearing before the hidden sniper, and slams Kanchoni into the ground, a brutal lesson in experience. Lydia spots her downed teammate, her eyes burning with rage. She dismisses his power with a furious scream, unleashing a desperate attack of her own, but Raid stops her cold, catching the blade in his hand. He reminds her that her movements are still full of openings. He sends her flying with a flick of his wrist. Guess the old captain still has some lessons to teach. She can only stare in shock, recognizing the technique he used. It's a technique he taught her, the spatial area pulse, a move designed to disintegrate everything in its path, and Lydia is caught right in the middle of it. She believes this is the end for her. But she's not the only one caught in the blast. Paul roars in defiance, thinking it's all over. He screams out to his captain, watching in horror, as Raid floats at the center of the storm he created. But he's not being destroyed by the energy. He's redirecting it with a single powerful punch. He channels the destructive energy through his own body. His eyes are cold, his control absolute. And with the storm now past, he stands over a defeated Paul. The brute can only watch, completely outmatched. Raid looks back, telling the others not to follow. He simply turns and walks away, his message clear. Lydia realizes he intentionally held back the full force of the attack. He spared her life, and she can't comprehend why. She screams at him to turn around and finish the job, demanding he treat her like a real enemy, just as he taught her. Raid looks away, his expression unreadable. He tells her that his war ended a long time ago, and with that, he vanishes in a blur of motion, leaving his entire former squad defeated in the dust. Lydia can only stare at the empty space where he stood. Remembering the cold lesson he once taught her, she slams her fist into the ground in pure frustration, screaming at the sky, wondering what could have changed him so much. But elsewhere, a new group of pursuers scours the wasteland. Their leader orders them to search carefully, knowing their target is near. His monocle glows, a confident smirk on his face. He mocks their attempts at stealth, boasting that his Gaia can find them anywhere. He forms a golden blade ready to make his move, and lunges forward with a furious roar. She realizes with horror that he's the tracking specialist, but she trusts in her barrier to hold him off. His blade crashes against her shield with brutal force. He seems annoyed that she's putting up a fight, but admits he expected her to have defenses. His blade crashes against her shield in a flurry of yellow energy. She braces for impact, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. The tracker smirks, pointing out that her damaged legs make escape impossible. She questions if he's a new type of Gaia agent, one designed for tracking. He just laughs, mocking her for being out of the loop since the network fell. She tries to bluff, warning him that the government needs her intact, but he dismisses her threat, saying it's fine as long as her main system is safe. He tells her to surrender quietly, convinced her escort is already finished. But a targeting reticle appears in her eye, her resolve unbroken, and she defiantly declares that will never happen. The tracker can only stare in disbelief, because the escort he thought was finished is standing right behind him, and he looks significantly less than pleased. Raid's gaze shifts for a moment, seeing her safe. His eyes narrow with cold, lethal intent. He offers a single, chilling word of warning, and unleashes a devastating punch, all his protective fury channeled into one blow. The impact sends the tracker flying. So much for that promotion. Raid's expression is a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. She screams his name, begging him to calm down, but Raid is lost in his protective fury. She changes tactics, offering a gentle smile and urging him to leave with her. With the immediate threat gone, they stand alone in the desolate landscape. His rage finally subsides, replaced by a familiar, quiet resolve. He looks back, apologizing for failing to protect her, but she just smiles, reminding him he was right on time. He reflects that he's always been a hunter, not a defender, and for the first time, he seems unsure of what to do. She calls his name, pulling him back from his thoughts. She tells him it's okay because what matters is that they're together, and that's enough. Her simple words seem to reach him as he quietly agrees, but he's already thinking ahead, questioning if it's safe to go to the next village. She points out that their wanted status is a double-edged sword. Raid understands her logic. She wants to regroup before other hunters arrive. With a new plan in mind, they set off for their next destination. The scene shifts to another battlefield, where a different squad has been defeated. A woman with glasses sits among the fallen, completely demoralized, until a new figure appears, asking with a smug grin why they look so down. A new player enters the game, listening in from the sidelines, and she's brought some heavy-duty backup with her. The leader announces their arrival, just in case anyone missed the giant metal dude. Meanwhile, Raid and his companion continue their trek toward the distant city. She breaks the silence, noting that he spared his former comrades. He simply looks back, confirming her observation. She points out that the old Raid would have left no survivors. He admits that his past self would have eliminated the threat completely. With a gentle look, she asks him why he changed his mind. He just smiles, asking what she's really trying to get at. She just smiles, happy with whatever his reason might be. Raid admits that he doesn't really know why he changed. He just looks ahead, lost in his own thoughts. Then he decides that her being with him is reason enough. Ahead, they spot their destination, New Karma Village, a city of anarchists, which sounds like a lovely vacation spot. He points out that entering with the carrier will be a problem, but she surprises him by climbing down on her own 2 feet. He quickly tells her to stay still, worried she'll fall. She explains that her data is restored, allowing her to move. And if she can just fix her legs, she won't need the carrier anymore. Raid agrees, suggesting they test her newfound mobility. The scene shifts to the crowded, chaotic streets of New Karma Village. She takes a slow, careful step, leaning on a makeshift crutch. They move through the alleyways, cloaked to hide their identities, but their faces are plastered on every wall, a constant reminder of the price on their heads. The bounty is astronomical, making them a target for every hunter in the city. They spot a shady-looking man leaning against a wall up ahead. He has the weary, calculating eyes of someone who's seen it all. He turns to face them, blocking their path with a knowing look. Raid's eyes narrow, his senses on high alert for any sign of trouble. But the man's tough guy act shatters in an instant. He leaps away from them in a panic. Guess he's not looking for a fight after all. They continue deeper into the city, a maze of shady dealings and watchful eyes. She looks around in awe, amazed by the sheer number of people. They stick to the upper walkways, trying to avoid the crowds below. But even here, they can't escape the notice of the locals. She takes in the new sights, a mix of wonder and apprehension on her face. Raid can't help but notice her excitement, asking why she's so happy. He reminds her that they're fugitives with their faces on every wall. But she just smiles, admitting that she finds it all fascinating. She explains that this place was once a prosperous city until the First War reduced it to ashes. The survivors who refused to flee rebuilt it into what it is today, New Karma Village. She's amazed to finally visit a place she's only ever known through data. For her, this is a moment where everything feels truly real and present. Raid listens, her simple joy a stark contrast to his own past. He reflects on her words, on what it means to be truly present. He admits he never really thought about his own existence before. His life on the battlefield was just a blur, without any real meaning or reason. But her voice cuts through his dark memories, calling his name, and just like that, he's pulled back to the present moment. She asks if he's all right, wondering what's on his mind. Raid remains silent for a moment, lost in thought. She looks back, confused by his sudden quietness. He finally speaks, admitting that if he hadn't met her, he never would have found a reason to live. The memory shows her inviting him to join her in the water. He dismisses it, saying it's just a shallow pool. But she just offers her hand with a gentle smile. He hesitates, unsure of what to do. Before finally taking a single, tentative step forward, she looks up at him, her expression full of trust. And he offers a rare, gentle smile in return. She breaks the silence, asking what their next move is. He tells her their first priority is fixing her legs, though she insists the splint is fine. But Raid refuses, saying he can't let her stay injured while under his protection. He explains that in a city like this, there's always one place they can find: a mechanic's shop, a haven for repairs and spare parts. Inside, a man lies on a cot, groaning in agony. His face is a mask of pain, his body covered in severe burns, until a sudden noise makes him jolt upright in alarm. He peers through the bars of his makeshift bed, his eyes wide with alarm. His first thought is that another thief has broken into his shop. Without a second thought, he grabs a nearby shotgun. He creeps toward the door, ready to defend his property, then bursts out, aiming his weapon at the intruder. But the cloaked figure is just standing there, looking at a pile of scrap. The mechanic screams, accusing the stranger of trying to steal his parts. The figure slowly turns to face him, unbothered by the threat. The mechanic holds his ground, but a flicker of doubt crosses his face, and his anger melts into pure disbelief as he recognizes the visitor. The mechanic calls out his name, Raid. Raid addresses him as Robin, here to collect something he left behind. Soon, the three of them are sitting down for a tense little chat. Robin explodes, demanding to know what in the world is going on. He asks why Raid stole Speaker, pointing out the wanted posters everywhere. Raid calmly explains that she has free will and deserves respect. He's simply chosen to walk the path she wants to follow. But Robin dismisses her as just a high-intelligence android. She speaks for herself, confirming her classification as an AI, and lists all the ways her capabilities far exceed those of any human. She declares that she can feel her own existence, but Robin argues she's just a machine made by humans. Raid counters that humans are just masses of protein and carbon. He believes that anyone who feels their own existence has the right to make their own choices. Robin finally seems to understand Raid's reasoning. He accepts that nothing he says will change Raid's mind. He tells them to stay put until nightfall, when it's safer to move. With that, he declares the debt between them is finally settled. But Raid has one more favor to ask, much to Robin's annoyance. He asks Robin to fix her damaged legs. The mechanic explodes, questioning Raid's nerve. She looks on, curious about their shared history. Raid simply states that Robin owes him his life. Robin scoffs, wondering what good it is to save someone in this broken world. He gets up to leave, saying he needs to find the right parts for her. But he pauses at the door, his expression softening for a moment. He tells Raid that the guardian he left behind is waiting in the shop. With Robin gone, the two of them are left in silence. Raid reassures her, explaining that the old man can be trusted. She offers a warm smile, putting her full trust in the old man. Raid seems to appreciate her unwavering faith. He tells her he's going to check on the guardian he left behind. She recalls the data on these units, combat mechanics built for support. He approaches a massive, dormant machine, a tool he once used. A machine that served as the hands and feet for Gaia agents like him. He reaches out and pulls back the heavy tarp, revealing the old war machine underneath. The guardian kneels as if waiting for its master's return. And Raid looks down at his old partner with a heavy heart. He places a hand on the cold steel of the machine, recalling it was the only thing he ever felt a bond with on the battlefield. But now he needs its help one more time. And in response, the Guardian's eye flickers back to life. Elsewhere, Robin stomps through the city, cursing his luck. He regrets ever agreeing to store the Guardian for Raid, but his grumbling is cut short by a rough hand on his collar. A group of local thugs surrounds him, their leader offering a smug greeting. Robin panics, insisting he's already paid his protection money, but the leader just grins, saying he's heard some very interesting news. Robin flinches, the thug's words hitting him like a physical blow. The leader taunts him, saying the man he owes his life to is in town. He offers Robin a chance to pay off his own debt in one go. Robin walks through the alleys, the weight of the situation on his shoulders. His expression is a storm of conflicting loyalties. He slams his fist against a wall in frustration. His mind is made up, a grim resolve in his eyes. Back at the shop, the thugs have already found their target. The leader confirms their intel was right on the money, and Robin can only watch, trapped in a terrible choice. Robin desperately denies that Raid would ever come to him, but the thug leader's patience is wearing thin. He reminds the old man of a certain opportunity, how his shop was ransacked and his family taken, and how he was the one to save the old mechanic. He dangles the fate of Robin's family as leverage. The memory of that day flashes through Robin's mind, and he realizes the horrifying truth it was them all along. The thug leader seems confused by his sudden realization and answers his defiance with a sharp blow to the head. The thug leader taunts the beaten mechanic, offering a cruel deal. Betray Raid and he'll find Robin's daughter. He leaves the old man with a chilling, smug promise. Robin walks back through the city, his mind racing. He tells himself this isn't a betrayal, it's just survival. He returns to the shop, the weight of his choice heavy on his shoulders. She asks where Raid is, her expression open and trusting. She explains that he went to check on his old guardian unit. Then she notices his injuries, her voice filled with concern. But Robin can't bring himself to look at her, his guilt overwhelming. She apologizes to Robin for their rude intrusion, knowing they showed up out of nowhere with an impossible request. She explains that her journey began with a simple wish to meet Mother, how her only reason for existing was to relay information. She thought she was experiencing the entire world through data alone, but everything changed the day she met Raid. A memory shows him watching her, a man she describes as pure. His only interest in life was the art of combat. He simply accepted his role, fulfilling his purpose without question. And for her, their conversations were a source of endless joy. She explains that their talks turned her data into genuine curiosity, how Raid was the only one to reach her in her isolated existence. But Robin just scoffs, asking what her point is. She declares that Raid is her savior, someone she can always trust. And she believes he can help Robin with his problems too. Her words seem to strike a nerve as Robin grits his teeth. He snaps at her to stop talking and get to the repair room, muttering that Raid never should have saved him in the first place. His mind flashes back to a city under attack, and the moment Raid saved him and his family from certain doom. He remembers the moment he was saved with a look of pure despair, because in his mind, that wasn't salvation at all. The memory shifts to the aftermath when Raid returned to his shop. He'd come back to retrieve the guardian he'd left behind. But for Robin, survival only led to more tragedy. He blames Raid for the life he was forced to live afterward, believing it would have been better if he had just died back then. Raid had noticed his injuries, asking what had happened to him. But Robin just brushed it off as the fate of anyone in this city. He'd then changed the subject, asking what Raid was planning to do. Raid looks back, considering the mechanic's words. Robin asks if helping the android is his new mission, but Raid denies it, declaring this is his own will, a claim that Robin scoffs at, questioning its authenticity. Raid's patience wears thin as he asks what he's implying. Robin accuses him of simply being used by the android, claiming she's manipulating him to fulfill her own desires. He screams that Raid is nothing more than her pawn, but Raid coldly tells him that's not his call to make. Robin begs him to reconsider, his mind already made up to betray them for his own survival. He begs Raid to think about what she's made him do, but Raid insists her only wish is to meet her creator, a simple wish that he's determined to support. Because for the first time, he's following his own heart. Robin finally gives up, realizing there's no getting through to him. But a flicker of desperation remains in his eyes. He admits there's something he needs, but can't get himself, and he hopes that Raid can retrieve it for him. With wanted posters everywhere, Robin can't move freely, and to activate the Guardian, they need an energy pack. Raid agrees to the errand, asking what needs to be done. Robin points him toward a shop 6 blocks away, explaining he needs Raid to steal an energy pack he can't afford. Raid sighs, agreeing to borrow one for a bit. He tells his Guardian, Spear, to watch over her while he's gone. Robin just shoos him away, promising to handle the repairs. But as the old man walks away, Raid senses something is wrong. He can't shake the feeling that Robin is unusually anxious. Still, he leaps over the wall, heading off to complete the mission. Back in the shop, Robin faces her, his betrayal now in motion. She places her trust in Robin, completely unaware of his plan. He gruffly tells her to stay still so he can concentrate. Elsewhere, the thugs relax in their hideout. One of them questions why their boss is toying with the old man. The leader calls him an idiot, explaining Robin is a useful technician. He reveals that the old man single-handedly repaired their mechs. Robin was once a top military engineer during the First War, but he lost everything and fell into their clutches. The leader boasts about taking his daughter as leverage, and his underling praises him for his brilliant evil plan. What a great guy. The subordinate questions the plan, but the leader reveals a dark truth about the daughter. He explains that a dim hope is the perfect tool to cloud a desperate man's judgment. He's confident that with his family on the line, Robin will betray Raid in a heartbeat. Just then, another thug rushes in with an urgent report. The leader's grin widens, realizing his plan is working perfectly. Elsewhere, a trembling Robin makes the call he was forced to make. He desperately begs them to finally give his daughter back, promising to hand over the android if they come to the shop right now. But he's not the only one in the alleyway, because Raid never left and he's just heard every single word. Raid's eyes narrow, the cold truth of the betrayal sinking in. He arrives at the shop Robin described, a place far across the city. Just as the old man said, the back alley is completely unguarded. He moves with silent purpose, scaling the building's exterior. He easily bypasses the lock on the back door and peers inside, his suspicions growing stronger. His worst fears are confirmed as he realizes Robin has deceived him. The room is empty, just a dusty storage space with no energy pack in sight. Back at the shop, Robin fidgets nervously under her watchful gaze. She tests her newly attached limbs, completely unaware of the trap being set. She notes that while the repairs went well, Robin seems unusually anxious. He turns away, unable to meet her gaze as she pieces together his plan. She tells him that she won't resent him if he hands her over. Her calm acceptance only seems to deepen his inner turmoil. He lashes out, accusing her of knowing his thoughts all along. But she simply explains that the desire to live is a natural instinct, and if her sacrifice will make his life easier, she's okay with that. Her generosity is too much for him, and his guilt twists into pure rage. He screams that Raid saving him was the beginning of his own personal hell. A life where he lost his wife, his daughter was taken, and he was forced into servitude. He screams that he'll do anything to find his daughter. He lashes out, telling her to just stay quiet. But she looks at him with pure understanding, recognizing the pain he's been forced to endure. Her empathy only seems to fuel his inner conflict. He turns away, completely broken by her kindness. Just then, the door to the shop creaks open. The thugs have arrived, ready to collect their prize. But they're not the only ones in the alley. Because Raid is watching from the shadows, his suspicions now confirmed. Raid watches from the shadows as a new group arrives in the city. A squad of soldiers is questioning the locals about two fugitives. They warn that their targets are dangerous and ask for cooperation. But the locals just want to know what's in it for them. Classic. The soldiers try to de-escalate, clearly out of their element here. One of them activates his weapon, a rather unconvincing show of force. The locals warn him not to make a move he'll regret. Their leader reminds the soldiers that this is New Karma Village, a place where government authority means absolutely nothing. The soldier quickly realizes he's picked the wrong town to play cop in. Raid watches as the local identifies the new arrivals as government scouts. He notes their retreat, realizing the main force is still on its way. Raid knows he has to get Spear and leave before they arrive. He takes to the rooftops, moving with silent speed. The soldiers below seem to sense his presence, looking up into the sky. Meanwhile, back at the shop, Robin lies beaten on the floor. He questions the thugs, asking why they'd turn on him after he did their bidding. He desperately begs them to tell him where his daughter is. The leader's subordinate remarks on his boss's cruelty. He activates his own weapon, clearly uncomfortable with the scene. The subordinate offers to put the old man out of his misery. Robin's eyes widen, his mind lost in the past. He remembers the day his family was torn apart, and his own failure to protect them. He couldn't stop his wife's death or his daughter's abduction. The memory is a fresh wave of agonizing grief. He admits he was too afraid to end his own suffering, and has been waiting for this moment all along. But just as the blade falls, a hand catches the thug's arm. Raid steps from the shadows, his timing as impeccable as ever. Raid's first concern is for Spear, asking Robin where she is. But the old mechanic can only look down in shame. Raid demands an answer, his patience wearing thin. The thug decides to interrupt, lunging at Raid with his blade. He finally recognizes the face from the wanted posters. Raid just looks down, saying he'll find out on his own. He walks forward, completely unfazed by the weapon. The thug boasts about his own enhancements, a device called Synapse. He activates it, preparing for an ultra-high-speed attack, and launches himself forward in a blur of motion. The thug moves in a blur, his blade a flash of yellow. But Raid's expression is one of pure, unadulterated boredom. He sidesteps the attack with almost no effort at all. The thug's grin is wide, convinced his speed is unmatched. He thrusts his blade forward, aiming for a killing blow. But Raid's eyes track his every move with perfect clarity. He ducks under the clumsy swing, and counters with a devastating uppercut of his own. The blow sends the overconfident thug flying across the room. He lands in a heap, his high-speed attack ending rather abruptly. Raid tells the old man he doesn't blame him, as he came prepared for this. But Robin just blames Raid for all the suffering that followed, screaming that if he'd just been left to die, none of this would have happened. Raid grabs the broken man by his collar, reminding him that he pulled him from the brink of death. He tells Robin that what came after was his own burden to carry. He tells him to get stronger, to fight back when cornered. But the old mechanic can only grit his teeth in despair. Raid insists that any life is better than no life at all. Robin slumps to the ground, asking what Raid knows about being truly powerless. Robin admits he knew he'd never see his daughter again. But that sliver of hope was the only thing keeping him alive. Raid looks down, telling him not to give up just yet. He asks for the location of the thug's hideout. Meanwhile, Spear's been captured by the gang leader, Clack. He's on the phone, negotiating the terms of her capture. The voice on the other end confirms the bounty will be paid. But Clack decides to renegotiate, demanding 5 times the price. He's speaking directly to the government agents hunting them, and he makes it clear he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He threatens to just sell her for scrap if the deal falls through. But the agent on the other end wants to know what happened to Raid. Clack lies, claiming Raid got scared and ran off without a fight. The agent addresses Clack by name, wishing him a very ominous good luck. He hangs up the call with a chillingly confident smirk. Clack grits his teeth, clearly annoyed by the agent's tone. He realizes the government wants both fugitives as a package deal. He turns to his men, barking out a new order. He tells them to find Raid and bring him back immediately. He grumbles about how difficult the Empire is to deal with. Looks like this payday just got more complicated. Clack explains his plan to sell her to the highest bidder. But Spear calmly warns him that the Empire doesn't leave loose ends. He's unnerved by her insight, questioning her advanced AI. He can't understand why a simple speaker is worth so much, and demands to know what her true capabilities are. She simply turns the question back on him, asking what he fears. His men watch as their leader seems to lose his composure. One of them even mocks him for being scared. Morale seems high. Clack deflects, demanding she answer him instead. But she can see right through his bluster, sensing the fear in his eyes. He explains that to avoid loss, one must risk everything. But she sees through him, saying he just takes from others to protect himself. Clack just smirks, proudly declaring that's their way of life. He grabs her roughly, his grip tightening on her cloak, and dismisses her as nothing more than stolen goods. Spear calmly warns him that greed will never bring peace. It only deepens the shadows of resentment and pain. Her words seem to strike a nerve as he scoffs at her wisdom. He presses his weapon to her head, reminding her she's only alive for the bounty. But their chat is interrupted by a distant explosion and a familiar figure soaring through the air. Clack and his men are stunned by the sudden commotion as Raid crashes down with the force of a meteor. One of the thugs is already down for the count, and through the settling dust, a familiar silhouette emerges. Raid has arrived and he looks less than pleased. But Clack just laughs, mocking him for coming to them. Raid continues forward, his expression cold and unmoving. His eyes are locked on his objective, ignoring the noise. Spear watches him, her faith completely unshaken. He offers them one chance to simply walk away. He promises not to take their lives. But Clack just screams a warning to his men. His backup arrives, answering their boss's call, and they've brought out the heavy artillery for the occasion. Clack gives the simple order to get rid of him. His men immediately open fire, unleashing a barrage of explosive rounds. The entire street erupts in a storm of fire, but Raid just crouches, weathering the blast, then moves through the chaos like a phantom. The Gaia system is a micro-machine that unleashes incredible power. Even without a fuse, it maintains a constant low-level activity, and with just 5% power, ordinary bullets are laughably slow. He weaves through their gunfire like it's standing still, and closes the distance to deliver a brutal counterattack. He ends the fight with a single decisive stomp, then moves on to the next thug without a second thought. Clack can only watch, his confidence completely shattered. Raid offers them one final warning to leave and never return, then turns his back, his focus already elsewhere. Clack realizes his heavy artillery was dismantled in an instant. He knows a head-on fight is completely hopeless. Raid continues his slow, deliberate walk forward, offering one final chance for them to simply disappear. But Clack decides he has no choice but to play his final card. Raid's senses tingle, knowing something is about to change. The thug leader grabs Spear, using her as a shield. He taunts Raid, saying that for him, she's just a payday. But for Raid, she's his entire reason for fighting. Raid simply looks back, telling him he's mistaken. He lays out the two options, her life or theirs, and tells the thug leader to make his choice. The man's bravado finally cracks, realizing the threat is real. He questions if Raid can even be trusted to let them go. But Raid offers a simple, unwavering guarantee, explaining they're not worth the energy it would take to fight. Clack seems to relent, his grip on Spear loosening for a moment. before he opens fire, deciding to take his chances. Guess negotiations are over. The blast slams into Raid's shoulder, sending him stumbling back from the unexpected blow. The shot was just a distraction for their real heavy hitter. A massive mech slams down, forcing Raid onto the defensive. He recognizes the model, a modified CR-07 Imperial Army weapon. An old manned unit, now retrofitted to fight on its own. Clack laughs, telling Raid to enjoy his new plaything. The machine hovers above, ready to strike again. Raid braces himself, meeting the mech's crushing blow. The force of the impact sends sparks flying through the air. He grits his teeth, realizing he didn't want to use a fuse here. But with Spear's life on the line, he has no other choice. He activates his Gaia Pulse, his arm crackling with raw power. The mech unleashes a blast of its own, but Raid's energy shield holds firm against the crushing blow. He meets the machine's massive blade with his own, then launches himself forward, closing the distance in a flash. He knows that even with its heavy enhancements and its impressive speed, it's still just an old machine at its core. His energy surges through its systems, tearing it apart from within, and with one final, devastating blow, the fight is over. Clack can only stare in disbelief, his hostage forgotten for a moment. He realizes the true power of Gaia, a force that just tore through his best weapon. Raid walks forward, his expression cold and unwavering. The thug leader panics, screaming at him to stay back. But Raid just stands there, the blue energy fading from his arm. He holds up the empty fuse, explaining that Clack just wasted his one and only chance. With the fight over, he turns his back on them and walks towards Spear. He kneels down, apologizing for failing to protect her once again. But she just holds his hands, wishing he didn't have to fight for her. Her only hope is that one day he can finally find some peace. But their quiet moment is shattered as government soldiers finally catch up. The squad leader orders his men to prepare their weapons, ready to burn them down. Raid realizes they were found far too quickly. The soldiers open fire, unleashing a strange green energy. It's not a blast, but some kind of binding agent that wraps around them. Spear cries out, caught in the immobilizing substance. Raid channels his own power, trying to break them free. She realizes their orders may have changed from capture to elimination. With a final push of strength, he breaks them free and leaps away, carrying her to safety. The soldiers give chase as Raid and Spear make their escape. He knows they need to get to Robin's shop for the Guardian and get out of this city for good. They arrive to find Robin waiting, Guardian at the ready. The old mechanic raises his weapon with grim resolve and opens fire, providing cover for their retreat. But just then, a new attack rains down from above. A massive beam of golden energy hurtles towards them, until a new player enters the fray, deflecting the blast. He effortlessly cuts through a swarm of drones. Guess they have a new friend. Raid looks down at Spear, the immediate danger now past. Their mysterious savior begins to speak of a past kindness. She remembers Raid helping her long ago, a debt she never forgot. How he trusted a stranger, believing in her skills and giving her work. He even protected her family, offering them a moment of peace. But she questions why he helped, if he was just going to leave. Because in his absence, she was left completely powerless. His generosity, she claims, made her too weak to survive alone. And so, with a haunted look, she unleashes a curse. A curse on herself, for failing to protect the ones she loved. Spear looks at the broken mechanic with pure empathy. She reaches out, telling him that he was never weak. The world they live in was simply far too cruel, and she insists that he shouldn't blame himself for what happened. Her simple kindness seems to finally break through his despair. With a new resolve, Robin points them toward an escape route to the west. He warns that the city is crawling with hunters, making the main roads a death trap. Raid starts to ask about his daughter, offering to help. But Robin cuts him off with a pained scream. He admits that he's known for a long time that she's no longer in this world. He admits he was just clinging to a cowardly excuse to live, and declares he'll clear the debt he owes Raid right now. With a click, a massive explosion rocks the city streets. He screams at them to go, buying them time with his own life. The blast immediately draws the attention of the government soldiers. A drone pinpoints their location right near the explosion. Their commander gives the order to move in and eliminate them both. Raid can only watch as the old mechanic prepares for his last stand. He turns to his own partner, Guardian 09, and gives the order to activate. The old war machine whirs to life, ready for one last fight. Raid looks back, acknowledging the debt he now owes the old mechanic. He holds Spear close, apologizing for not being able to save him. Back in the city, Robin accepts that there is no escaping his pain. He spots the government drones swarming the sky above, and opens fire, drawing all their attention to him. He knows this won't be enough to atone for his weakness, but hopes it can serve as his own final punishment. He unleashes a final, desperate barrage against the approaching soldiers. From a distance, Raid and Spear watch the city burn behind them. His expression is heavy, carrying the weight of another sacrifice. Raid admits he was never one to protect things, realizing it's far harder than simply destroying them, but Spear sees the sadness in his eyes. He questions if that's what he's truly feeling. She apologizes, explaining she needs to enter sleep mode to recover, and just like that, she goes limp in his arms. He wonders if this is the same pain Robin felt. They stand before the dark tunnel, their only way forward. He looks down, realizing he's used another precious fuse. With only 5 left, he questions how many more fights he has in him. He knows this western sewer is their only path forward, but it leads directly into the treacherous waste grounds. His old Guardian unit seems to offer its services. He asks the machine if it will protect her. The old mech gives a silent, affirmative nod. Its chassis opens, offering a safe place for her to rest. Raid seems to accept the offer with a faint smile, and with his companion safely stowed, they begin their trek. He doesn't know how this journey will end, but he's determined to see it through to the very end. Their path leads them to the waste grounds, a graveyard for discarded weapons of war, a place shrouded in a toxic green mist. Raid and his Guardian continue their trek through the dark sewer tunnel. He keeps his senses sharp, knowing danger could be anywhere, with Spear resting safely inside the mech's chassis. But as they venture deeper into the darkness, they find the path is blocked by 2 Imperial killer bots. He recognizes the old assassination units, decommissioned long ago. The 2 machines stand like silent sentinels in the tunnel. He wonders if they wandered in from the waste grounds, making this path impassable. The 2 machines immediately snap into a combat stance. Raid realizes they've been detected preparing for a fight. Without warning, the 2 bots lunge forward with incredible speed. One of them extends a glowing yellow blade from its arm, but Raid is already moving to intercept the attack. The second bot makes a move on the Guardian, but the old mech is more than ready for it. It effortlessly slams the assassin bot into the ground. Guess it's not so decommissioned after all. That leaves just one more for Raid to deal with. He stands his ground, ready to face the machine head-on. He meets its charge with a powerful kick of his own. While his Guardian has already handled its own opponent, Raid's expression is cold, his focus absolute. He sends the assassin bot flying back with a single blow, but the machine quickly scrambles back to its feet. Raid moves in, not giving it a single moment to recover. The bot swings its glowing blade in a desperate arc, but Raid is already a blur, easily dodging the attack. He closes the distance in an instant, and delivers a final, decisive blow to its chassis, and brings his heel down with crushing force, shattering the machine's core in a single, brutal stomp. With the path now clear, the 2 stand in the sudden silence. Raid takes a moment to assess the situation. He notes how quiet it's become after the brief chaos. Relieved there are no more, knowing a real fight without fuses would be suicide. He turns to his partner, asking 09 for a status report, and the old war machine gives a confident thumbs up. Guess he's still got it. With his partner ready, Raid gives the order to move out. He reflects that the darkness he once walked with Spear felt so much brighter than this. He reflects on the oppressive darkness of the tunnel, and with Spear in sleep mode, he's truly alone. The weight of his past feels heavier than ever before. All the lives he's trampled over on his journey are ghosts that will never truly disappear. He can only accept the darkness that clings to him, believing there was nothing he could have done differently. But Robin's words echo in his mind, questioning his choices. He admits the old man's accusations left him deeply troubled, and he's forced to wonder if he's ever truly had a will of his own. He admits that for a moment he thought Robin might be right, but his brooding is cut short by a tap on the shoulder. His Guardian seems to be reminding him of his purpose. Raid wonders if Robin gave the old machine an AI upgrade, and the mech responds with a confident thumbs up. Guess the old bot got a personality patch. He tells his partner to stop the useless thoughts, ready to move on. He decides to focus only on moving forward, vowing to never doubt his convictions again. And just ahead, he finally spots the exit. From here on out, they're entering a true danger zone. His goal is simple: cross this graveyard of weapons as fast as possible. He takes his first step into the toxic mist, but 09's sensors suddenly flare to life, and the Guardian yanks him back without warning. Just as a colossal piece of machinery crashes down where he stood, Raid grits his teeth, a little too close for comfort. They look up at the massive object that nearly ended their journey. It's an old Claymore bombardment unit. Guess the scrap here is a little aggressive. He admits this is going to be a troublesome path. A weapon from the Second War, just one of many dangers lurking in the mist. The memory shifts to another time, another battle, with a younger Raid. He was a whirlwind of blue energy, cutting through the enemy lines. His focus was absolute, his movements precise. He tore through the machines with practiced ease, shattering their ranks with overwhelming power. But a younger teammate looks back, his face etched with panic. He screams a warning about a massive machine approaching from the north. Elsewhere, Paul slams his fists down, telling his squad to take cover. They can only watch as the new threat announces its arrival. A colossal war machine charging straight for them. The machine thunders across the battlefield, a true titan of war. But a younger raid prepares to meet its charge, grabbing a fuse. He slams it into his chest, activating his power, and his arm is once again wreathed in blue energy. He unleashes a massive wave of power to clear a path. But another squad leader steps forward, telling his team to wait for his signal. A younger Paul acknowledges the order, ready to follow his lead. The new leader then launches himself into the air, soaring directly towards the colossal machine. Guess he's not big on waiting either. The mechanical beast seems to lock its gaze on the lone attacker. His eyes burn with the same intensity as his blade. He becomes a whirlwind of blue energy. As the entire squad joins the chaotic dance of battle, the squad leader slams his blade into the ground and gives the order to unleash everything they have. The claymore was as massive as it was deadly, but for Gaia users, it was just a big, angry nuisance. Still, you wouldn't want to face this thing alone. The machine brings its foot down with crushing force. A soldier orders his own guardian 09 to find higher ground, and 09 salutes, ready to follow its captain's command. Back in the present, Raid remembers how the claymore was left here to rust, but its self-repair systems have mutated into something else entirely. Over the years, these machines have evolved, adapting to the wasteland. He realizes these are a completely new breed of enemy. With no other choice, he uses another fuse, leaving him with only 4. He grits his teeth, determined to get through this on a single charge. He becomes a blur of blue, carving a path through the evolved machines. One of the smaller scorpion-like units falls before him. He pushes forward, continuing his trek west through the pipes. He knows the fastest path to Mother is straight north, but he also needs to restore Spear's data at a sub-satellite. He decides to follow the river, but first, he has to clear a path through the immediate threat. He slams his blade down with overwhelming force, but the machine's defenses activate, a crystalline barrier erupting from the ground. He realizes even these old AIs have evolved out here. A massive metal limb crashes down beside him. He leaps away, a blur of motion against the chaos, and prepares to bring his blade down on the evolved machine. He swings his blade in a powerful arcing slash, but his attacks aren't even scratching its surface. He's forced to get up close and personal with the beast. He remembers running along its back with his old squad. But in the present, he has to find a new approach. He unleashes a level 4 Gaia Pulse, the hard jumper. The blast sends him soaring high above the machine. He clears the battlefield in a single powerful leap. Deciding it's better to fall back and regroup for now, he sprints away, putting distance between himself and the evolved machine. He realizes the other abandoned weapons are responding too. To survive this place, he knows they absolutely need to find a safe zone and fast. He breaks into a desperate sprint through the wasteland. With his power fading, he knows he can't stop for anything. He weaves through the newly awakened machines, ducking under a sudden blast of energy. Another shot slams into the ground right behind him, but his focus remains unbroken, his eyes on the path ahead. He slides low, another attack just barely missing its mark. He realizes their attacks are just probes testing his limits. They're hurting him, pushing him in a single direction, driving him forward like a cornered animal. He recognizes them as high-intelligence AIs with animalistic programming. Old war machines left to rust, now a part of the ecosystem. They've evolved into something like a brand new species. His expression hardens as he understands their strategy. They've driven him right into a dead end, with his back to a wall. And just as he's cornered, a massive leg slams down, revealing a mutated CTR-06, the alpha of this little pack. Looks friendly. Raid recognizes the new threat, a mutated unit. One that understands human thought and fights like a beast. The alpha machine stands its ground, ready for a fight. He remembers facing this kind of enemy with his entire squad, but now, he has to face this monster all by himself. The alpha immediately asserts its dominance over the pack. Raid uses the distraction to reposition himself. The machine unleashes a concentrated beam of red energy, but Raid meets the blast with a powerful swing of his own. The sheer force of the attack is almost overwhelming. He struggles to hold back the overwhelming red energy. The smaller units surround him, pinning him down with constant fire. He realizes they're not trying to win, but to wear him down. They know he's stronger, so they're playing the long game. a mix of long-range attacks and close-quarters pressure, a calculated strategy to break him over time. But Raid decides he's not playing along with their plan. He scales the cliff wall, dodging their relentless barrage, then launches himself forward, taking the fight to them. The Alpha machine reacts, its massive claw ready to strike. The Alpha unleashes a furious barrage of red energy beams, but Raid's expression remains cold and focused. He weaves through the storm of energy with impossible speed. The cliffside erupts where the beams find their mark. He wonders how these machines became ghosts wandering the land, then realizes he's no different from them, his own arm superheating. Just another hollow remnant of a forgotten war, the Alpha machine seems to sense this shift in power. Raid becomes a whirlwind of golden energy, unleashing a devastating attack of his own. The storm of battle finally passes in a flash of gold, and the Alpha machine falls, its reign of terror finally over. Raid looks down at the scattered remains of the pack. He knows a direct fight was never the smart option. Their sensors are predictable, their patterns easy to exploit, but his thoughts are interrupted by a sudden realization. He spots his Guardian 09 waiting for him, but something about the scene doesn't quite add up. He wonders how Spear is moving without triggering the other machines. He realizes they need to find shelter before nightfall makes things worse. He looks out over the desolate landscape, thinking of Spear, resting safely inside the mech, and a faint, gentle smile crosses his face. He admits he doesn't know why, but her presence brings him a strange sense of peace.